always liked the quiet of my house. It sits at the edge of a small Ohio town, a two-story relic from the 1920s with creaky floors and walls that groan when the wind picks up. I bought it cheap 5 years ago, figuring I'd fix it up over time. The roof sags in places, the paint flakes off like dandruff, and the plumbing rattles like it's got a mind of its own. But it's mine. I'm 38, single, no kids, just me in this old place. I work from home now, editing manuscripts for a small press, and I've grown used to the solitude. The silence wraps around me like a blanket most days, comforting, familiar. That November night started like any other. The air outside turned sharp cold enough to see my breath when I stepped onto the porch to grab the mail. I'd let it pile up again. Bills, junk flyers, a postcard from a cousin I hadn't seen in years. Inside, I tossed the stack on the kitchen table, a chipped Formica thing that wobbled if you leaned on it too hard. I made coffee, the drip machine gurgling loud in the quiet house, and settled into my office. A cluttered room off the living room with a desk piled high with papers and a single bulb swinging bare from the ceiling. The radiator clanked alive, warming the space as I opened my laptop. Night fell fast, dark pressing against the windows like ink. I liked it that way. No neighbors peeking in, no headlights flashing through. Around 10 p.m. I heard it, a low thud from somewhere below. Not loud, just a dull, heavy sound like a book dropping flat on a table. I paused, fingers hovering over the keys, listening. The house creaked often, old wood, settling pipes knocking, but this felt different, deeper. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a box in the basement, shifting from the cold. I'd stacked a bunch down there last month when I cleared out the attic. Old junk I couldn't part with. I shook it off. Went back to the manuscript. Some overwritten thriller about a detective chasing ghosts. The words blurred together, my eyes tired from the screen. Then it came again. Thud stronger this time, enough to rattle the floor under my chair. I froze. A prickle ran up my neck hairs, standing on end. "What was that?" I muttered, voice low, like I didn't want to be heard. The thudding stopped, silence flooding back, thick and heavy. I sat there, heart tapping a little faster, listening hard. Nothing. No wind outside. No pipes groaning. Just quiet. Too quiet now. I pushed my chair back. The scrape loud in the stillness and stood. Stared at the floor like it might tell me something. The basement door was in the kitchen, a narrow slab of wood with a rusted knob. I hadn't been down there in weeks. I grabbed a flashlight from the drawer, its beam weak, flickering when I clicked it on. The kitchen felt colder as I crossed it, the linoleum icy under my socks. I stood by the basement door, hand on the knob, listening. Nothing moved. No sound came up. I turned it slow, the hinges squeaking loud enough to make me wince. The stairs dropped into dark, a steep, narrow run of wooden steps, worn smooth from years of use. I flicked the light switch at the top. Nothing. The bulb must have burned out. I cursed under my breath, aimed the flashlight down. The beam caught dust motes, swirling lazy in the air, shadows stretching long across the concrete floor. I took a step, creak, loud under my weight. Then another. The air grew damp, musty, like wet earth and old paper. I reached the bottom, swept the light around. Boxes lined the walls, some sagging with damp, others taped shut from my last move. A rusty bike leaned in the corner, its chain dangling loose. The furnace hulked silent in the back pipes snaking up to the ceiling. I stood there, breath fogging in the chill waiting. Thud! It hit hard, shaking the floor dust, puffing up around my feet. I jumped, flashlight beam swinging wild. "Who's there?" I shouted, voice cracking. Nothing answered. I spun, aiming the light at every corner, boxes, bike, furnace, all still. No movement, no sound. My chest tightened, heart hammering loud in my ears. I backed toward the stairs, beam jittering in my grip. Another thud. Closer now, like it came from under the concrete. I froze. Sweat beaded cold on my forehead, eyes locked on the floor. "This isn't happening," I whispered, voice trembling. I bolted up the stairs 2 at a time, slammed the door, locked it fast, leaned against it, panting hard. The kitchen stayed quiet, the house still. I told myself it was pipes. Something shifting. Nothing alive could be down there. I slid to the floor, back pressed to the door, breath ragged. Sleep didn't come that night. I stayed in the kitchen, lights blazing, clutching a mug of cold coffee. Morning crept in gray through the windows. I checked the basement door, still locked. No sounds drifted up. I laughed shaky, telling myself I'd imagined it. Work dragged, slow my eyes darting to the floor, every creak making me flinch. Night fell again, rain tapping the roof. I avoided the kitchen, kept the TV on loud, drowning out the quiet. Around midnight, I heard it, thud, thud, thud. Steady now, like footsteps under the floor, I dropped the remote, hands shaking. "No!" I yelled, voice raw. Grabbed a flashlight, a kitchen knife this time. Opened the basement door beam, piercing the dark. The stairs creaked louder under me, air thick with damp. I hit the bottom, swept the light around, same boxes, same bike. Then I saw it, a crack in the concrete, jagged running along the back wall. Thud! Dust puffed from it. I stepped closer, knife trembling in my hand. Something scratched, slow, deliberate from inside the crack. I froze, heart pounding so loud I couldn't hear my own breath. "What are you?" A low groan answered, deep, guttural, like stone grinding stone. The crack widened, dirt spilling out. I screamed. Ran up the stairs, slammed the door, locked it, barricaded it with a chair. I don't go near that door anymore. Every night the thuds come louder, closer. I hear scratching now, like nails on stone. I stay upstairs, lights on knife by my bed, wonder what's down there breaking free.